In sociolinguistics, there's this important concept of indexing. Often you see it in the form indexicality. We say that linguistic forms can index social meanings. Let's break this down. When I say linguistic forms, that could be word choices. For example, whether to call these potatoes or spuds would be socially different. Or their choices in pronunciations. For example, do you say kicking or kickin'? And their choices in sentence structures. And also the choice of which language to speak. For example, in the United States, to choose to speak English or to speak Spanish can convey different social meanings. This is what we mean by the possibility of linguistic forms that you might choose from. Now, what about this part, indexing social meanings? We mean basically reflecting or expressing or evoking cultural images of people and activities. And when doing that, speakers can convey either something pretty fleeting and temporary, an attitude that they're having in that moment, or they could be conveying a personal characteristic that they want to claim that they have, or they could be stepping into the role of a certain persona or social type, which would be a more permanent thing, supposedly. Well, that's a lot of abstractions. Let's try to make it a little more tangible. What about the word y'all? Nowadays, it's by no means used only by Southerners, but it still has a connection to the South. So when anyone uses it, regardless of whether they grew up in the South or not, it can convey a momentary attitude of friendliness, or it could convey a personal attribute of, hey, I'm reliable, or a social type or persona of a Southern belle. These are just some possibilities. There could be many others. Now, an important point to note is that y'all or any other linguistic form doesn't necessarily index the same thing every time. We couldn't possibly have some kind of a dictionary of the social meaning that corresponds to every linguistic choice that a person might make. For example, in one study of the pronunciation of ing in Manchester in the United Kingdom, it could be ing or in, and in fact, it could even be ing in this one community. And when speakers choose between those three possibilities, they convey something about how articulate they want to be perceived as, and in terms of their social class. So, in the context of England, this is an idea of being posh versus a different social class, and they want to convey something about reliability. So there are lots of possibilities here for which type of social meaning somebody might be going for in a given moment with their choice of how to pronounce ing. And in another study, we see an example of how to index a given social meaning. Maybe a linguistic feature doesn't get the job done by itself. Maybe it has to co occur with other features. So, in this one study, some speakers choose to pronounce this T sound in a particular way, but not just that, they also combine it with the S pronounced a certain way, and they raise the pitch of their voices. All of that together adds up to a certain style that conveys the persona or the social information that the speaker is going for. And one final important point about indexing, the possibility of what we call indirect indexicality. Suppose someone swears. That could mean many things, it could convey many things. Let's say toughness would be what the person is going for. So their primary intention is, in this particular situation, I want to appear tough. Now, maybe unintentionally, maybe they're not thinking of it, but we also associate toughness with some forms of masculinity. And therefore, in the act of swearing, the person ends up making an indirect link to masculinity.